Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Nicola, if you don't know me. Hi, I'm Nicola. Nice to meet you. Thank you for being here. I am the founder of the Projector Success Hub, and today we are going to be talking about what an invitation actually is. And I like to think of this as like the title that I wanted to call it was what even is an invitation, because it's so like convoluted and it's so confusing when you first like hear the wait for an invitation as a projector. And I feel like my experience with this was like very much at the start. I just like when I first found this out, I was just so just confused by the whole thing, and I felt really disempowered by it, and I felt like I had to always wait for just like someone to like verbally invite me to do something, and the invitation had to have recognition, and until then I couldn't do anything because I hadn't been invited. And it's just so misleading and so disempowering, and I felt like I was paralyzed. I felt like I couldn't take action. I felt like all of the way that I'd lived my entire life was false, and that I must have been in my not self because people weren't inviting me to do every single little thing in my life. And it was very like confusing, confronting, and just like awful. So I'm here today because I know that I'm not the only one. Like surely if I felt like that, then other people would have felt like that as well. So I'm here today to debunk some of those myths and to hopefully give you guys a little bit more direction, or more of an open and empowering idea of what an invitation actually is, and how to use an invitation and when to use an invitation. So straight off the bat, there's two forms of invitations, and obviously like this is on a sliding scale. It's not just like two boxes that things fit into, but they're on one end of the scale, there's an invitation without recognition, and on the other end of the scale, there's an invitation with recognition. And this is very important for you to understand. I just want to tell you about this first before I go into like what an invitation actually is. This is so important to understand because an invitation without recognition is not really like a solid invitation. It's not really a good invitation because that person isn't recognizing, or that invitation or that person who's invited you isn't actually recognizing you and your unique gifts and you as an individual person. They just want someone to fill the thing that they're asking you to do or inviting you to do. Whereas an invitation with recognition is like, no, I want your specific input. I want you because I know that you are gifted in this. And it's so much more like, as a projector receiving those invitations, like you're going to feel it. It's so empowering, and you feel like you've been seen on a deep level, which is one of our greatest like wants and needs and desires in this life, is for someone to actually see us, because we live our lives in the projection field where like majority of the population has no idea who we truly are. They just see the projection field around us. And so when someone asks you to do something or invites you to do something or share something or be something with recognition, this is like, oh, like it's so nice. It's so just like the best feeling ever. So what is an invitation with recognition? An invitation with recognition would be like, hey, Nicola, I would love your input on this because I know that like, you know what you're really talking about, and I feel like the world needs to hear what you have to say. Whereas an invitation without recognition would be like, I always use the example of like going out to dinner. It's like, hey, some friends and I are going out for dinner if you want to join. Like they don't really care if you're there or not, and they don't really like they're not valuing you as a unique person. They're just like bunching you in with everyone else. And you can feel the difference. Like you'll, like for me, when someone says like, oh, we're having dinner, you're welcome to come, it's an immediate no for me, because I'm like, I don't feel like I'm wanted, and it doesn't feel good in my body to go. It feels like I'm forcing. Whereas if someone was like, hey, I'm just like, I'd really love you to come and join us for dinner. Like, you know, I haven't seen you in so long and I'd really love to catch up with you. No, then I would feel more like, yes, I want to go to that. Also, depending on your authority. So I would ride out my emotional wave in that instance. You don't really need to use your emotional wave for going out for dinner because it's not a big thing, but like I just like to experiment with my emotional wave on all the decisions that I make in my life because I know that it works a lot better for me to use that. So they are the two like different ends of the spectrum of invitation. So just keep that in mind when you are navigating the invitation space. Keep in mind that like, are you being recognized for your gifts, for what you truly see, for you as a unique person? Does that person really see you and want you to do this thing or want you to share this thing or want you to be at this place, right? Are they after you or are they just after someone to fill a spot? Because ain't nobody want to be filling spots, right? Am I right? Cool. So then we move into what an invitation actually is. Now, gosh, this is just so complex. Like it feels like there's no solid answer here. And this is the most frustrating thing I think about being a projector and like learning human design at the same time, or like, you know, starting to learn human design is like, you want someone to give you a roadmap. You want someone to tell you, this is the rules, this is where the limits are, and this is what is correct and not correct. But unfortunately, life is not like that black and white, and the rules are going to be different. The rules, you know, the limits are going to be different. I hate the word rules. Limits going to be different depending on who you are and what your unique energy signature is. So even as projectors, we have different types of projectors, obviously, right? So we have mental projectors, we have self-projected projectors, you know, all of us have different authorities, but then we also have energy projectors and non-energy projectors. So you're categorized by like what your authority is. So I'm an emotional projector, but then I'm also an energy projector because I have some motors defined. The motors that I have defined are my solar plexus and my root. And the heart is also a motor center. And I don't think, no, the spleen is an awareness center. So if you have the heart, which is the little triangle off the diamond in the middle, or your solar plexus, which is the triangle off to the right of your chart, or the root, which is the bottom square, if any of those are colored in your chart, that means you're an energy projector. If you don't have any of those defined, that means that you're a non-energy projector, or I don't know what the actual real word for that is, but that's how I kind of group them in, right? And so me, my limitations and my invitations and the way that invitations like are for me is going to be different from a mental projector who doesn't have an emotional authority and doesn't have any motors defined, right? Isn't an energy projector. And so the way that you as a mental projector and a non-energetic projector or a non-energy, I can't remember what the real word is for that. I think it's a non-energy projector or whatever. Anyway, your invitations are potentially going to be very different and feel very different to me, being like I have quite a few motors in my chart, and I also like the emotional wave is like, you know, quite a unique experience in itself. But even aside from that, like all of us are completely different, even though we fall under the umbrella of projectors, or we fall under the umbrella of an emotional projector, or we fall under the umbrella of an energy projector. Two energy projectors with an emotional authority are going to be completely different. And so the way that we experience life and the way that we experience invitations is also going to be completely different, because we're not the same and we never want to be and we never will be. And that's absolutely the point of human design, is to like recognize and like see ourselves as the unique, beautiful, empowered, incredible humans that we are, and that no one else is like us. And that's absolutely amazing, right? So what do you actually need an invitation for? You need an invitation to share your gifts, what you see, how you feel like things can work better, the changes that you feel like would increase productivity, like all of the things that affect the way that the world kind of operates better, because that's kind of what we're here to do as projectors. We're here to like create a new and better way for the world to operate. But to do that, we don't have the consistent energy like a generator to actually make the changes and make that happen. So we are here to guide the sacrals. We're here to guide, well, we're here to guide everyone, but like specifically the sacrals, which is generators and manifesting generators. And so to do that, we have to share how to make things better. But if we're sharing how to make things better and like how to make the world work better, right, without an invitation, and again, I'm coming to the what is an invitation piece, just bear with me. I'm giving you all the background so that we can get straight to the point when we get there. If we're doing that without an invitation, it's literally repelling the person on the receiving end. It feels like the most disgusting thing ever. I noticed this when I like, you know, that feeling, I know you all know this feeling, when you see something that needs improving and you're dying to give that advice, or you're dying to like tell people that it doesn't have to be this hard, that you could just do this one thing and it would fix all their problems, but you haven't been invited, but you're just like, you can't hold it in anymore. And then you say it and it's like, you're just met with like the grossest feeling and the grossest like energetic like resistance ever. It's the most disgusting thing. I also feel that when a generator doesn't respond and when they're initiating and they're like, you know, initiating and they're giving me the initiation, you know, like I haven't given them anything to respond to, but they have to like word vomit on me or like give me whatever it is that they're trying to initiate on. It feels disgusting. And so if you're trying to create a better world for everyone, but you're repelling everyone with your advice because you haven't been invited to share, you're never going to make change, and everything is just going to be so hard, and there's going to be so much friction. And oh my God, we're not here to have friction. We're not here to work hard. We're not here for things to be difficult. We're not here for things to just like, you know, to be met with resistance at every single step of our lives. No. This is why we have strategy and authority, to make things easy, to make things flow, to make it all kind of like, you know, feel a little bit like it's all just falling into place. And of course, it's live. It's not always going to feel like that. But like, this is the point of having a strategy and authority. And this is the point for us as projectors, having an invitation. So and I wrote a post on this on my socials today. If you want to go check that out, I'm pretty much probably going to say the exact same thing, but if you want it in a different form, i.e. a visual form, definitely go check that out. I'm Nicola Burbage on all socials, just so you know. I wrote a post today explaining that like I see everything basically on a sliding scale. And so invitations are no exception to that. I see invitations on a sliding scale, and the type of invitations are kind of like on a sliding scale. So on one end of the scale, you have like invitations that maybe aren't as strong or as direct or like aren't as obvious. And then on the other end of the scale, you would have really direct and obvious invitations. And the direct and obvious invitations are literally just like receiving an invitation in the mail, or like someone asking you to share something, or literally like the most obvious invitation. Like if we're using going out for coffee as an example, it would be like your friend saying, hey, I really want to have coffee with you. Can we do that this week? That's like the most direct and like obvious invitation. And then on the other end of the scale would be like, you get a feeling, or you have an intuition hit, or you have, especially if you have a defined spleen, which is the triangle on the left of your chart. If you have a defined spleen, you're a highly intuitive being. And even if you don't have a defined spleen, my spleen's completely open. I'm so intuitive. Like my intuition is off the charts. It's insane how, and obviously like you can develop your intuition as well. And I've spent a lot of time doing that. But like, if you just have a feeling about something, or you just like know, if you have a defined spleen or you're a splenic projector, you just know sometimes, and you can't explain why you know, but you just know. And, or maybe you're like, you know, thinking about something, or maybe it's like, you just, you know, someone says something that sparks a little like light bulb moment in your brain, and like, you know, you can always use those little things as like mini invitations. The thing that I will say is like, on this sliding scale, you've also got things that you need invitations for. So on the most direct end of the scale, you need an invitation to share what you, to share how you see things and give advice and like share your, you know, your perspective to make the world a better place. And on the other end of the scale, you've got a very like watered down version of that, where it's like, maybe you just need to say 2 words that could alter the trajectory of something, or like maybe it's just like a tiny piece of something that you know, that you feel like bringing up, or that you feel like could alter their lives, but you haven't been invited to share it, and maybe you get that feeling that you should share it. And so they're 2, like the sliding scale is like what you need an invitation for, and how the invitation kind of like comes to you. So you obviously also need an invitation for like major life events, right? So like changing house, getting into a relationship, getting a dog, moving, getting a new job, like all of those big life things. Also having an invitation is like a very good idea. And the invitation would need to be more direct, because they are bigger things, right? Like to move towns or move countries or whatever, like you would obviously want like some kind of pretty obvious invitation to do that, because otherwise the energy is going to feel really weird. And for like, do you want to, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something small, like maybe you see a friend that just like, maybe you're a personal trainer and you're at the gym and you see someone that's like obviously struggling and obviously needs help, and like you feel like they're open to help and you feel like you can help them and you feel like you're kind of like being invited to do that. That's like something pretty small. And so like that invitation would not need to be like, hey, can you help me with this? I really appreciate your input. Like it could be, but also it could just be like, oh, I really feel like I'm the person to help that thing. And again, with these smaller or like less obvious invitations, you really want to make sure that they're not coming from the not self of like, maybe it's that you need to prove that you know, or maybe it's that you feel like you need to help everyone, or maybe it's that like your open throat is like you need to speak all of the things all of the time because like you're trying to be heard. You need to make sure that that's actually coming from like an aligned place. So using a strategy and authority again, not from the not self, because if it comes from the not self, it's going to feel really icky. And so the other thing that you can do with the less obvious invitations is you can ask if it's okay if you share. So maybe if we use the gym example, it could be like, hey, I don't know if you're into this or not, but like I feel like I can give you a few little tips if you're interested, that might help you improve your technique and maybe like prevent injury or whatever it is, right? And if they like are like, oh, okay, then that's obviously like oh no, don't share. So you can be like, oh no, it's all right. Like if it's okay if you don't want it, and like, you know, kind of back away a little bit and don't share. But if they're like, oh my God, that would be amazing, then that's like giving you the green light and the go ahead to then share, which is an invitation, right? I wish that there was, I don't have anyone on live with me right now, but I wish there was someone who could tell me if that makes sense. But if you're watching the replay, put in the comments if you have any questions and if this makes sense, because in my mind, it's like very linear. But like, as I'm explaining it, I don't know if you're getting the image that I have in my head. So basically, like there are different invitations, and an invitation doesn't have to be like, hey, can you do this for me? Or hey, do you want to do this? Or do you want to share this? Or what do you think about this? Or do you want to move countries? No, it's like not always like that. And people have to know that they can invite you. People have to know what your gifts are. And so it's about being seen so that you can be invited, and not being seen so that because you need an invitation, but being seen because it feels good to be seen for your genius. So using myself as an example here, he's like, obviously I'm running a little human design business, right? I'm running an online business. It's human design centric. I have started the Projector Success Hub. I, you know, run workshops, I run courses, all of these things. And I have to be seen so that people know that that's what I do, so they can invite me to share my wisdom and my knowledge and my passion, which is human design, with them. And if I'm not being seen and being like open about like my passion and my interest and my business, then how would anyone know that they can buy from me or come and like join me on a free masterclass or join, you know, my communities or my Facebook groups or whatever? How would anyone know that if I haven't made myself being seen? So it's not about just like sitting back quietly and like hiding behind the projector, because also like it's like, oh well, I should be invited to share. Well, just because you're a projector doesn't mean you sit back and just like wait for someone to invite you for something that they don't even know that you can do. It's about showing up and like doing what lights you up, learning about things that are exciting for you, and really like going after what you're passionate about, but in a way that feels really good and in a way that's like self-serving, so that once you have the embodied knowledge and once you have that embodied wisdom, then you can serve the world. But it all starts within first, right? Like I didn't just like, you know, discover that human design was a thing and then just start talking about it because, you know, I just heard about it. No, I like went and studied. I did everyone's chart that has ever been close to me ever, or that I've ever known. And I was like diagnosing everyone. Like at the time I was a massage therapist, so I was like giving people mini readings while they're on the massage table. Like I was practicing and studying and being obsessed, and like just for my own like enjoyment, because it was so fascinating to me. And then I was like, oh, I actually should do this. Like I actually should, you know, create this as a business. And I was invited, I'm pretty sure I was invited, I don't know, to share my knowledge and human design and be part of something according to human design. And then, you know, one thing after another, after another, after another. And so it's really started with me embodying the knowledge and really knowing it for myself first, and then sharing it. And now I feel like I'm sharing it to help the world become a better place. And I'm doing that through helping people know themselves and like, you know, all of these amazing things that come from human design. And in particular in the Projector Success Hub, and I used to get invited all the time by one of my friends whose daughter is a projector, to share on like how to help her with her daughter because she couldn't see her. And so I was being invited all of the time to share about being a projector. And then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, like 2 years later, I'm now like one part of my mission is like, I really want to empower projectors because we're really needed for the next phase of this world experience, or the experience of life. We're really needed. So, you know, it's like things don't just happen because you sat there and like wanted someone to invite you. Things happen because you have followed what lights you up, and you know, followed all of the little breadcrumbs to like your self happiness and your self empowerment and your self knowledge of self, and like really finding that thing that really feels good for you. And if you don't know what that is, it's okay, it's going to come. Just like follow the tiny little breadcrumbs. And again, every little feeling or intuitive hit, or like, you know, that feeling like, oh, that could be fun, like follow it. If I could tell you how many things I have like tried in the last, like my whole life, but also like in the last 3 years in particular, I literally, anything that is remotely fun or exciting, I've tried. I have done everything. I literally, my husband thinks I'm crazy because he's just like, oh yeah, but you're going to get sick of it in like 20 minutes or like, you know, 3 months or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but if I don't follow those things, if I don't follow those tiny little intuitive things that like, oh, I'm going to research this now, or I'm going to like learn about this, or I'm going to watch, I go down these YouTube rabbit holes where I just spend months watching YouTube channels that talk about certain things. Right now I'm on like a fashion and like dance one, and I've been down van life. I have even been down a rabbit hole of living on a boat, like and I'm also like obsessed with tiny homes. Like there's so many like things that I've been interested that make no sense, but they actually do make sense. And it might take 10 years for them to make sense, but they actually all come together. And without you going after those little things, you're not allowing yourself to explore and like, you know, gain the knowledge and gain the thing that is your genius and that you are really passionate about and that stands the test of time, because you haven't even started it. And so how can you be invited for something that you haven't even started because you don't know that you're passionate about it because you didn't start it? So my advice to you, and this comes from someone, I have a taste cognition, so this is like, might not all completely resonate with you, but like my taste cognition needs to taste all of the things, like it needs to have little tasters of like boat, tiny homes, like so many things. I'm like, every time I cook, it's like I don't ever follow a recipe because I just want to like try. I just want to like experiment with what this little image in my head is, or what feels right. I don't even use cooking times or like temperatures. I literally muscle test to when to turn the oven off. And it's just like all because I'm like, oh, maybe I'll find something cool, or maybe I'll like get excited about something that will lead to something else, you know? I never know. We never know what's around the corner, and we never know what like surprises we're going to find in those little tiny things that maybe you had a spark of like, oh, that would be cool to learn. So yes, I would highly recommend going down all of the rabbit holes and just researching all of the things that you're remotely interested in. Like also, I feel like I'm going into an ice skating fascination right now. So stay tuned for that. Who knows? Literally just like, you never know what's going to come next. Because yeah, without those little following the breadcrumbs, and like the breadcrumbs can be so minor and so like minuscule, without following them and like allowing yourself to play with it, you know, you're refusing yourself to be invited because people don't know what to invite you for. And it's literally an energetic thing that happens within us. Like it doesn't even have to be like a public, like, oh, now I'm interested in ice skating and I'm going to tell everyone that I'm interested in ice skating. It's literally like, it's an internal shift that happens when you're following the breadcrumbs of what is exciting to you. And it's like you're saying to the universe, I'm open for invitations and I'm ready and willing to explore the different things that are available to me. And with that, I am open to receiving more invitations and being acknowledged and recognized and seen for my gifts and what I'm truly like passionate about. And even if you don't know what that is, just by you following the breadcrumbs, you're allowing that to energetically come to you. And that might seem like a little far-fetched, but like it's true. I've witnessed it, I've lived it, I've tried it over and over and over again, and it really, really does work. Like whatever is going on internally really shifts what happens to you externally. So yes, I hope that answers some of your questions about the invitation. I feel like there is a lot of like confusing advice out there. So what you really need to do is like find your own limits, like what feels like an invitation to you and what doesn't, and then like test it. And even if it doesn't feel like an invitation, maybe just like share anyway, and then see how it blows up in your face, or like see what happens if you fail. And like find especially if you're a 6 or a 3 line. I'm not either of those, but I love trialing and testing things anyway because I think it's fun. But like try and find the limits, not according to what other people have told you the limits are, but according to your unique experience and what you've experienced in life yourself, because that's what human design is. It's the experiment of life. So just because I've come on here and told you what I think an invitation is, go and see if you can find other versions of invitations, or go and maybe some of my invitations don't work for you. And the only way you're going to know is not by me telling you, but by you trying it and failing at it, or trying at it and succeeding at it. So yes, do I have anything else to add? No, that is it. I hope you're all well, and yeah, I'm doing a Q&A Friday this week, so if you have any questions, find the Q&A Friday post. and put some questions in there. There's already a couple, or there's already some interesting points that people want me to talk about, and I'm really excited about that. So yeah, any question, there's no questions off limits. Any topic is explorable, and it's going to be epic. So yeah, bye. Enjoy getting invited.